Let me see. Welcome, everybody, to Digital Asset News. Take a top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down to bite-sized pieces. But before we start, let me make sure that, first of all, that we are live. And, well, I can tell we are because I can hear myself. And to make sure the audio is good and the visuals are good, go from there. Put that in the chat box. Welcome to the stage, my friends. Mike the Investor. Mike the Investor.
Rob, how's it going?
It's good. And then I got James from Invest Answers.
Hey, all.
James, welcome. So I invited these two guys, first of all, because I watch them. I watch them almost every day whenever they put a video out, but when they've got some really great stuff. So in the description in this video, and I also, I'm going to tag this at the very top, go follow these guys, Mike and James, over at their respective channels. Gentlemen, let's talk about some crypto, shall we? So first of all, let me make sure I got someone going here. Let me share my screen. Oh, and welcome everybody. Hold on, let's pull up. I've got my lovely assistant, Haley, who is going to be pulling in some random comments. Only the good ones. Only the good ones. Let's see, this is a good one. Jerome says, are you a fortune teller? Like, how can you predict end of year? I am a fortune teller. I have this crystal ball. It's magic. Luca says, hello. Hi, everyone. James is a legend. Mike is also a legend. So to answer your question, this is all investment opinion, not investment advice. And the things that we talk about, we're just talking about predictions that may or may not come true. We take a look at the best information we can possibly get and extrapolate that out to the end of the year. And if we are correct, well, that's a pretty good one, but don't take it as gospel. I have been wrong before. I'm wrong all the time. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. And then we'll go from there. So let's break up. First of all, I wanted to talk about, James, you had this interesting video yesterday. And you talked about how the government is breaking down a regulation and they really are pushing I think you called it Bitcoin beatdown or something like that, right?
Exactly, yes.
Go ahead.
I believe it just everything seems too correlated and orchestrated to be happening at once. So I believe, perhaps I could be completely wrong, but I've got a theory that, from the IMF to central banks, etc., are all working in cahoots together to try and exert some pressure on smaller countries so they don't follow the El Salvador Bitcoin standard route. And also to try and just block Bitcoin and crypto from getting into the hands of individual investors, because it is putting downward pressure on fiat currencies all around the world, which means it has an adverse effect on the ability for countries to, have influence over their people, good or bad.
Good or bad. Yeah, that makes sense. So regulation, first of all, let me share my screen real quick. That is Mike's great YouTube site there. So go ahead and check him out. Here's James over on Invest Answers. Very slick, very nice. This was the one that, because when you were talking about that, I had covered this story a couple of days ago. Mexico's third richest man, Mr. Salinas. I guess he's the third richest guy in Mexico. And he just said that, hey, he goes, Bitcoin's a great thing, and we're going to try to get it into our bank, and it's going to be great, and we'll see how it goes. But then like a day later, this came out. Mexico says cryptocurrencies are out money. And the financial authorities pretty much shut him down and said, look, we don't care what billionaire is talking, we're not going to do it. And it was just so fast. I mean, how it actually came about. So I was like, And then James, I think you talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, I'd bet $1 million that Christine Lagarde or from the UCB or somebody from the IMF called the finance minister of Mexico and said, hey, shut this down now. You can't let this toothpaste come out of the tube because you can never get it back in once you do. So shut it down and I'll give you a couple of $1 billion interest-free loans.
No way.
Oh, yeah. They can do that. They can just print SDRs all day long. So that's how the world works.
Mike, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get regulation this year? I mean, as far as like America goes, or you think they're just going to they're going to let it go and then these guys will just be like, whatever?
Man, that's a good question. I definitely see what James is saying, because I mean, last time we was on your live stream, we talked about certain regulations setting in and not all regulations setting in. And I think it's interesting because with crypto, we never know. Things change so fast. where, you know, one week it could go this way and the next week the narrative is changed, right? And so I think how I kind of look at it is, I just put out an article to my Patreons like a couple of days ago, and it was about how 650 banks now is going to allow, you know, people to buy Bitcoin. So that's pretty much, you know, even the hole in the wall credit unions as well that allow investors to buy, you know, crypto. And so I think that is a sign of adoption just for US. And so I think about, if that gets implemented, I definitely think there's going to be some form of regulation that follows that up. And so I don't know how much crackdown is going to happen, but I definitely think we may see something for sure.
Man, and this, I think this is what you're talking about, the NYDIG partnership, where they had 650 banks. They're going to be buying up, what was it, $6 billion, and going from there from Q2. Yeah, pretty crazy. I mean, look, the reason why I bring all these things up is before we get into these price predictions and these guys talk about it, is that remember where we're at right now. There's a lot of good news out there. And of course, there's going to be the FUD. There's going to be the Chinese stories, the car salesman that comes out. There's going to be these random countries that be like, we're not going to get into cryptocurrency. But in the end, it was the same thing with the internet. I mean, people tried to not allow it, and then it just kind of overtook. So I still am pretty bullish for this year. Anyhow, that's my lead in for this one. So let's get down to business, shall we? Price predictions. Everybody's favorite story. And remember, these are just the things that I see that could potentially good happen. So let's just start with the number one crypto in the land, which is Bitcoin. And I got two questions for these guys. First of all, what I see is, first of all, on January 7th, when I made this first price prediction video, I thought it was going 150. And the probability I said was 10. I just didn't see any way around how it couldn't. And now I'm a little bit more shaky, but I still think it's going to go to around 130 to 150K. And we're bouncing all over the place in the 30K, 35K range. I don't think we're going to do much in July. Maybe August, September, we'll see some price action. But this is why I see things. I took a look at fractals. I took a look at from 2013 to 2017 to now, all the 4-year cycles. So this is what I got. So two questions. First of all, I'll start with Mike on this one. Where do you see Bitcoin going? And two, do you ever see Bitcoin being overtaken? And by which one? By which crypto? That'd be a good question.
Well, so you threw a slick ball in there on me, Rob.
I did, Mike. I got it, but don't worry, man. It's just a couple. Just like we only got like less than 1,000 people. They don't really care.
You're all good. But yes, I do see Bitcoin hitting 6 figures. I definitely think it's going to hit 100,000. How much does it go over that? I don't know, but I definitely think you're in the ballpark. I definitely think it's going to hit 6 figures this year at some point, or leading into next year, we will see a 6-figure Bitcoin. Definitely.
So I had Paul Barone from the Paul Barone Network, and he's a traditional finance guy, kind of like James as well, big investor into real estate and things like that. Got his own channel, and he said, I see 6 figures, but I only see it at 100K because I don't see it going too much beyond that. But I'm like, that's fine, you know, being conservative. On this channel, I'm pretty conservative. I don't give the stupid, price predictions of it's going to 1 million tomorrow or something stupid like that. That's just how I see it. James, what do you got?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's all well and good to look at charts and fractals and 2013 and 2017, which can give you some indications for what's going to happen. But I personally believe Bitcoin and some of the other cryptos are driven by money flows. And this cycle is very, very different in every respect to any previous cycle. Therefore, you can't look at history. And the other thing I look at is supply and exchanges beyond money flows. And there'll come a time when the supply will dry up and then we'll go parabolic. Now, with the German news today, that could be 300 billion flowing into crypto, of which 60-70% will go into Bitcoin. Germans are very conservative. I live there, I know. And I think that's a huge amount of money. You got George Soros jumping into the mix. You got all the American banks jumping into the mix. So all the laggards, remember, we are so early in adoption, less than 1.5% of the population, 2% of the population, whichever numbers you look at. It's so early and the money is just going to come. And for every $1 billion coming in, you increase the market cap of Bitcoin by 20 billion.
Yep.
And you can do the math on what that is. And it has a huge impact now because the market cap is so small. And with the supply drying up and more going into hodlers, I don't know who's going to be selling, because no matter which way you look at the macro backdrop, there's nothing but brightness on the horizon. You know, the absolutely hard, scarce supply and the deflationary factors flowing in because people keep losing their coins, losing their keys, dropping dead. It's horrifying. We actually finished a study. We're going to come out, do a few little tweaks, and it's going to be part 2 of who's got the coins, and talks about exactly who the big holders are, what it looks like stratified across all the different holders, as well as how much is left to buy. And there's not a lot. So from that perspective, my price target for year end has not changed since January. That's $108,000. If anything, I've become actually more bullish on Bitcoin despite the last 2 months. You know, with El Salvador happening, I didn't see that happening for 2 years. Plus, you got Germany coming in, you got big hedge funds coming in. So 108 is pretty high, and that is 29.63% less than your target, Dan. Rob?
Yeah. No. I mean, it's good. And this is the same thing I hear. I hear like, so I'm like 130 to 150K. And then JDO says, how do you come up with these numbers? I personally just look at history and look at fractals. I also take a look at the actual total market supply and where the market cap could be. So if we take a look at, I mean, first of all, let's take a look at gold. I own gold. I own silver. I'm just, you know, I get into that because, you know, as a hedge, because who knows? Maybe we can go into Mad Max territory and people are just going crazy. And so I look at that. I'm like, well, the market cap of gold is 12 trillion, right? 10 to 12 trillion. So is it outside the realm of possibility for Bitcoin to go into the 4 trillions, 5 trillion with what we know and what the people are coming in? I don't see it. I don't see why we couldn't. The big thing is what James said, which is, hey, can we, you know, there's only so many Bitcoin to go around. When are they going to actually start buying? And I think right now it's just to me, it looks like a trader's paradise almost, because there's just so much volatility in and out and in and out. So that's it. And everybody, welcome to the stage, Wen Mullet. He's back in action. I haven't seen Wen Mullet forever. What's up, bro? All right. So that takes care of Bitcoin. So I will agree with these guys. Very conservative. 100K, like Mike said, 108K for James, 130K to 150K for Rob. So I'm looking like the moon boy in this one. All right. So next one, Ethereum. And it's a tough thing because on January 7th, it was 1.2. I thought for sure it was going to 10K, especially with all the DeFi projects, the lockups that were happening, and just seemed like it was just a juggernaut. I didn't hear too much about, you know, Cardano and the smart contracts. Avalanche was just kind of coming into it. Solana was kind of on the back. Remember Solana? That was like, what happened? And then all of a sudden that explodes. So I didn't really see too much competition. It hit 4.3 around April or so. And
May.
Yeah, April, May. And then we're looking at, for me, instead of 10K and me saying an 8, I'd say it's going to be between 8,000 and 10,000. I'm waiting to see what happens with the London hard fork and EIP 1559. So James, I'll start with you on this one. Where do you see it?
Yeah, so again, if you look at the DeFi activity, I go back to the same basis. There's about 160 billion locked in value. It's going after a $400 trillion market. It's growing at 20,000% per year or something crazy like that. So
Crazy.
This whole world, I think, is so infantile that the only way is up. And again, my price prediction for Ethereum has not changed since the beginning of the year. And in fact, with all of the adoption and the level 2 protocols that are solving some of the interim problems for Ethereum, it still remains about 8,900. And I took the average of your price, Rob, of 9,000. So we are very much in line here. And remember, we got halfway to that target a few weeks ago.
4.3.
So it's a fact. I know the weakness now is incredible because there's a lot of people are unsure about so many things, and there's a lot of potential ETH killers on the horizon. But I still believe it's all about first mover advantage and network effect, and that's where Ethereum has a huge leg up. However, we'll talk about another one in a few minutes that I believe could be a potential ETH killer if there is one at all.
Oh, I like to hear that. Okay. Mike, what do you got, man? Do you see it do you see me at anywhere 8 to 10K, or are you like going way lower?
No, I think Ethereum's a major player. And when we look at Visa, let's just look at Visa for an example.
Okay.
Even though there's ETH killers out there,
Mm-hmm.
Visa chosen 4 major blockchains.
Okay.
Ethereum, Solana, Algorand, and what is the other one?
Did they choose USDC?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And they partner with Circle as well. And so they have Algorand, Stellar, that's the other Stellar blockchain, Algorand, Ethereum, and Solana. Now, all of those
That's right.
All of those are conquering some of the same mission, but also going after different things. And so as DeFi is growing so fast, like James said, I also think we are starting to see market share being taken a little bit as well, from Ethereum. But I also think Ethereum's going to be, like I said before, I think there's going to be 4 to 6 major players on each layer. And I think Ethereum's going to be one of those. And I think potentially Ethereum will still be at around 10K. Will it stay there? Of course, that's yet to be seen, but I definitely think it can reach it for sure.
Good points. Yeah, especially with Visa coming into play. And then that would lead us into Stellar, which we'll talk about later. But IBM and Stellar have a close partnership as well. So, and that it's a good point because there's all these different areas where all these cryptos are going to go for. I don't think there's a one size fits all where it's going to be just a domination of like, let's say, this was when I got in 2017, it was Bitcoin can do everything. And it's going to do everything, and it's going to have all these things. And we realized it can't do everything. There's no way. And I mean, there's some people that still say that. I think that's kind of ridiculous, but whatever. But we'll see it all goes down the line. But yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And then we're talking about this today on Alex Mascioli's show about market share, because I think Ethereum is going to stay up there. It's never going to go to zero. Not never, but it's not going to go to zero anytime in my lifetime, I don't think. But as far as like market share, if you got like a Cardano nipping at your heels at 2%, and you got an Avalanche over here at 1.5% market share, and then you've also got like 3% for Solana or whatever else it is. When it's not a big deal, which is 2, 1, and 3. But if you got 10 people, they're all taking 2% of your market share. It's 20%. Before you know, you're like, what the heck happened? And then off you go. So that's my 2 cents on that one. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Where are we? Chainlink. Oh man, I messed this one up. Chainlink, it was $17 on January 7th. I said it's only going to go at $35 at the end of the year, but I was pretty sure about it. That's one thing. And then of course, what did it do? It hit $52, and I was like, wow, I really missed the target on that one. But this is the thing: nobody's ticked off at me when I make really conservative, low ball predictions. And they're fine when everything overshoots. Where people get really ticked off, I don't know if you guys have seen this, is when I do like way crazy predictions, and which I don't really do that often, and they just don't fulfill. So this one, as of today, it's like around $18. I think it can go to 75 to 100 because I thought there was going to be more competition, but it seems like Chainlink is the big oracle. Mike, what do you got?
Dude, honestly, man, I think Chainlink is going to hit $100 by the end of the year. I honestly do. I've never said it publicly. I've never really talked about it, but Chainlink, I think, is what the 4th crypto I ever purchased, and still holding it today. So, I mean, Chainlink has too much connections. You have to have it. It's almost like how Terry Crews said Ethereum is like the oil. I mean, when you think about adding, information from blockchain to blockchain and connecting, you have to have it. So I definitely think it's a major player for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of which, if you haven't watched that, it was a podcast, The Defiant Ones. It's the same lady who wrote The Invisible Machine, the one about the Ethereum. Camille, I forgot her last name, but she had Terry Crews on. Super smart guy, artist, great guy, and he just talked about his road for cryptocurrency. And if anybody knows Terry, please give him a shout and say you should be on Digital Asset News. All right, James, what do you think about this one?
Well, Chainlink, kind of what Mike said, is definitely probably, I believe, one of the most important projects in the blockchain space. And it has a critical role of connecting, obviously, blockchain to smart contracts, off-chain, cross-chain data, etc. Nobody else has that position. And the real value, obviously, being a first mover, but they are also the most trusted and reliable in the space. And the way they have geared their system is to really build that trust. And that type of moat makes it very hard for competitors to displace them. So from that perspective, I'm extremely bullish in Chainlink. There is one tiny little glitch that does have me concerned, is their tokenomics is a little shaky. A lot of tokens are controlled by the team, and there is a large token supply, so that could have a lot of downward pressure. Nothing like some other names I'll mention, but it is a point for concern. Now, that being said, my price prediction for Chainlink, a little more conservative, is about $78.72. I spent
awesome.
a long time valuing this one, and that's my middle target. I didn't give my low. I do bear expected and bull. This is my expected target, and it's funny because yours is 87.50, so you're 11% higher than me from your average. But that is mine. I have a good sized Chainlink position, and it was one of my early cryptos I added. Actually, once I figured out how important Ethereum was, that was kind of a shoe-in afterwards, pretty much.
This is why I love having other people on with different opinions and different ways that they view things, because even though we don't see all the different projects in the same way, we kind of, and we are not going to come to the same conclusion, but I can see where things kind of converge. So this is why I had you guys on. Thanks. This makes a lot of sense. All right. So we got that one. Let's jump over to, what's our next one we got? Oh, my favorite. My favorite. I think we're going to diverge maybe on this one. So Cardano, I used to complain about this all the time because as an entrepreneur, I just throw things to the wall. I'm like, whatever sticks, I'm like, let's do that. And then that's kind of that's how I work. And with Cardano, they're the exact opposite. They're like, look, we're going to be very meticulous. We're going to use peer-reviewed papers. We're going to use science. And we're going to go from that and take a lot longer. And I was like, I don't understand it. But then I kind of got it. And I always compare this to like when I'm traveling in the air, I want to make sure that the engineers that created the Boeing 747 didn't just throw things at the wall, that they actually tested things out thoroughly so it actually worked. I think that's what Cardano did. So Cardano on January 7th, remember these days? 32 cents. 32 cents. And I thought I was going to go to I actually said $3 to $5, but yeah. And my probability was pretty high. I don't think we had a date back then for smart contracts and dates as far as like August. Now here we are. So it did reach 252. So I was pretty close. Today it's about $1.30, $1.40. So I think it's around $5, maybe $7 at the high point. What do you guys see it? Am I wrong here? James, I'll start with you again.
Yeah, well, I've learned the hard way on the internet not to say or call anybody's baby ugly. I do have a Cardano position, but right. I think what kind of vexes me and what I can't quite figure out is why it has such a huge valuation and is yet to even go live. Right. You have other protocols that are a fraction of the cost that are already processing a huge amount of kind of DeFi business and smart contract business and everything else. And I just don't know why, Cardano's 8 times higher.
It's a great question. It's a great, right. Before you get into it, there's a project called Silo. I've talked about it on my channel over on Dan Clips. It combines WhatsApp with the security on the blockchain and actually is encrypted end to end. It gives you the availability of like Venmo to actually send your cryptocurrency within the app. And it's also like Filecoin because you can store different data points across, decentralized hubs. And it actually has a working product, which I have downloaded and I've actually used, and it actually works. And its market cap, it's like in the 700s or 800s last time I checked. But yet here we are with projects that do not too much, and here they are. So James, not to cut you off, but yeah.
Well, there is a theory as well that they technically by 2030 could have a $500 billion market cap if they really do execute perfectly. But, nobody ever talks about Cardano killers, but I know 5 of them that are ready to kill Cardano. So, and I think it's admirable what they're doing, helping the unbanked in Africa and stuff.
Sure.
But that's not where the money's at. So, and I follow the money.
Okay. So you're gonna talk about that later as we scroll down this list. Mike, what do you got?
Man,
and you're free to dissent. That's okay. You're free to dissent because I'll agree with you.
I will say this: I do own Cardano. I'm not looking to sell. Cardano is just a position. Honestly, I'm looking to hold long term, and when it makes sense, then do something with it. But do I think it can hit 5 to 7? I think 5 to 10, hot 10 on the high side. And I agree with I agree with everything James said as well, because there's a lot of things that a lot of other blockchains are doing to complement what Cardano's doing. Another thing I do like, though, what Cardano is doing is that now that will be launched on it. You have Solana and you have Ethereum, where crypto payments will be launched on those two blockchains, and then Cardano will be the third blockchain. And so when we talk about first movers, well, when you look at the first blockchains who's grabbing market share from crypto integrated payments for EV stations, those are 3 blockchains that are going to be the first movers. That's 50,000 stations in Europe. And so once that gets implemented and it shows and improve, okay, other companies may be like, okay, let's use Solana, let's use Cardano, let's use Ethereum for whatever. So I think that opens up a lot for Cardano, just in my personal opinion, because EV is the future, as we know. And so I think this is a win for Solana as well, if it goes right, of course, in a perfect world.
If it goes. And it was because like you and James and some other people I listened to talked about Solana so much. I mean, I actually purchased it not too long ago, and we'll get into that. And it was mostly, if it wasn't for you guys, I probably wouldn't have got into it, because I'm like, oh, I got enough. But I mean, here we are. And the same thing with BTT, Mike. If it wasn't for you, man, I would never have gotten into that. I would never have even looked at it. All right.
Man, I'm still surprised you got in it.
And apologies, Rob, I forgot to mention my number, 330 year-end target for Cardano, which is still bullish.
Yeah, so that's still, I mean, I'll take 330. Yeah. Okay. All right, James, that's all right. It's all right. Okay, so what else we got here? This is a good one. So Theta, I had it was $2 on January 7th. I thought it was gonna go to 10. I was way off, but I was pretty certain it went to $14. Today's price is 6. I think it's gonna go to 30. That's extremely bullish. We'll just say that. So probability for that one, I can't give that a 10. I would say between maybe a 7. It's all how they execute and roll things out. But again, I could be wrong. But Theta's making a lot of acquisitions. And even like Katy Perry just came out, and she's going to be doing NFTs on the Theta platform. So that's something. What do we got? Mike, what do we got here?
Well, I don't own any Theta.
Okay.
So not that I don't like the project. I think it's a very good project. It's just one of those I never pulled the trigger on. I think it's going to be anywhere from 20 to 25 potentially, or a lot higher. But it's not a project I really just followed 100%, just kind of kept up with the updates as far as news and things like that. Yeah. But it's kind of where I see it.
I can see that. I'll go with 20, 25 too. I mean, look, 30 is like pretty high. But again, I thought it was only going to go to 10 and went to 14, and that was in the middle of the year. James, follow the money. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't actually follow Theta. I don't own it, and I haven't analyzed it, so I have nothing good or bad to say.
Let's punt this one. Okay. So James agrees with me, $30. Great. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So here we go. Celsius. Things going on with Celsius. This is a weird one because it was $6 on January 7th. I thought it was going to 20. I was pretty sure. It only went to 8, and now it's back down to $6. So I said $20. 30 is like way too high. I would say 20, because and the reason why I went with this and didn't give it higher is, first of all, the community is super strong, and that's one of the things that if you have a super strong community, just look at XRP. It will not die. XRP army is like, we're going to keep this going forever. We don't care if the SEC is involved. We don't care what's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. And then the only problem is that they got a lot of competition. So that's the one that scares me. James, do you know anything about Celsius? You follow it or not?
I do. And as you know, I'm talking to Alex tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. But I do not own Celsius, and I don't want to make any hazards. But, when I look at the supply, the max supply versus circulating supply and inflation, that kind of gives me some pause. But it's done extremely well. So you can't argue that. 4,000% return or something over the last year?
It's crazy. It was pennies. And all of a sudden, there it goes. So like the max supply, we're looking at 695 million. So it's in the top 50, I think, still. All right. Mike, what do you got for this one? You follow it?
Not a ton. I think it has on paper it looks great, and I think that's a lot of cryptos, right? I mean, on paper it looks phenomenal.
Paper looks great.
But I don't own any Celsius. But it being listed on Coinbase, dealing with the emerging markets, I definitely think there's a lot of promise there. But I don't really have a price prediction on it.
And see, it's one of those things like, I don't know if Coinbase can do it or can be listed because it is a registered security. And we did a video on it, and we took a look at the actual documentation, and it's listed as that. So I don't know how that would work out. They wanted to do it like that, and then off it goes. But I'm going to be watching that episode with you and Alex, James, because there was an article that was written, and it's good to get to the bottom of things. And I'm a big believer in getting all the facts first before talking about it. So I will wait for James. All right, what do we got here? Next one. Bop, bop, bop. Stellar. This would be what we and Mike were talking about. So I had 33 cents. I said it's going to go $2. Went to 77 cents. Nothing too exciting. Now it's only at 26 cents. So I'm going to say $2 again. I don't have, it's hard to say because I didn't have a lot of different, a lot of faith in what's going on. But what Mike just said about, the different, with Visa partnering with it and IBM, maybe I'm wrong. So I'll start with Mike.
Stellar is, I do have a large position of Stellar, just holding it. I think Stellar is going to be, I kind of play what James says. I think money flows, and I think money controls a lot of the market. And I also think Stellar is very suppressed. And out of the 4 blockchains that Visa chosen, I think Stellar is the most suppressed. And that's just kind of how I think, not to get into too much political things, but I think Stellar suppressed. And I think with Visa, the USDC, I think with them being able to swap digital assets for any other digital asset with Lumen Swap and all of these things, we have the emerging markets, it potentially helping build out Africa. I mean, there's so many things with Stellar. It's so fast.
Yeah.
I don't really have a price prediction, but I definitely think it can go higher than $2, but I don't have a price prediction. Very bullish on it, not selling it.
Hey man, have you ever used XRP or Stellar, like just to transfer funds?
I've used them both, and they're extremely fast.
Yeah, right? They're like
extremely fast.
Like I would look down on my phone, I'm like, I'm going to send you something. And then they're like, I got it. I was like, what? Get out of here. But yeah, I used to use it a lot actually. And before when I could use XRP, and it's super quick. And it actually, the fees, look, it's fast and there's like no fees just about. So try doing that with Ethereum. Good luck.
Yeah. I like to exchange with XLM if I can. Fees are very low and very fast. So.
All right, James, what do we got? Follow the money.
So yeah, and this is one of the reasons I nixed Stellar. I hope I don't make myself unpopular, but watching it and what it did in 2017, hitting that all-time high and then crashing and being flat, and here we are 4 years later. It's less than what it was back then, a lot less. Yeah. So it means they haven't ramped up, they haven't increased adoption, they haven't proven their value. And I realized things were completely crazy back then in 2017, but at the same time, when I benchmark, I like to benchmark everything against everything and create ratios. So when I look at, say, the growth of Cardano and Ethereum and all these other names, and why is Stellar not even close to their previous all-time high? This is what I can't figure out, and this is why I've never analyzed it.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, there's a great analogy. It's like these projects are like the great restaurant that nobody goes to because no one really can figure out, like, the marketing isn't there, or there isn't really any partnerships. You just don't hear about it. Not that it's awful and it doesn't work. It's just that it's just not moving. And why is that? Well, that's up for management to decide. And that's where it really comes down to business savvy and business sense. So that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah,
I think. All right. So let's go to our next piece. Polkadot. $10 January 7th. I thought it was going to 50. And guess what? It went to $47.32. But I thought this was going to be 50 at the end of the year. It almost hit it in 4 or 5 months. So now it's at 15. I think it's going to 75 to 100. I think Polkadot's a good one. Look, I bet the reason why I invest in a lot of these things is I invest in people, because I believe that people and the teams behind it will really make things move or not move. And so with Polkadot, you got Dr. Gavin Wood, who's already done it with Ethereum. He was part of the Ethereum mafia. I think he can do it again and improve on the things that maybe didn't go right with Ethereum. So that's what I got. James, what do you got here?
Well, I lived in Switzerland as well, and I was partial to Polkadot and did a deep dive on it. And as the blockchain of blockchains, or whatever they call it, I think it's a very, very impressive project. I like the team. I like the developers. I like their approach. And I'm extremely bullish on this project. And just so people aren't disappointed, I tend to pick a very few, identify the winners, and go a mile deep. In every perspective, tokenomics, price predictions, due diligence on the team, etc. So my prediction for this one is, let me pull it up. I have it on my list. I know you were, sorry, I had a different sheet open. I have that at $129.79 for year end, which is my biggest gainer of all of the 13. I believe it has kind of the largest upside from where it is today. It is very weak, and that is higher than your prediction. Yours is 32% less than mine. That's the only price prediction that you have that is less than my price prediction.
Finally.
So we're completely off base.
I'm not the moon boy. It's James. Yeah. James takes that title for this one. Mike, what do you got for this one? Polkadot. First of all, do you have any Polkadot?
I don't have any Polkadot.
All right.
The reason being, because I think I know they have a little bit different missions, but I think Chainlink is enough. And so that's why I kind of stuck with Chainlink. I don't really have a price prediction for Polkadot. I definitely think it's here to stay, being added to IRAs and stuff like that, but I don't have a price prediction for it.
And see, this is a great point, because like this is what ticks me off in a lot of different places, which is like I'll say I don't own this, and people are like, why don't you own that? You should own that. You should own this. I don't have to own every damn cryptocurrency out there to be okay. So like just like Warren Buffett said, we're going to pass on this, and we're going to pass on even more things, because that's just the way that we do as far as like investment. And it makes sense. I can't get everything. I mean, I tried. Look at all the cryptos that I own right now. But I mean, you're not going to get every single one, and that's okay. Also, take profits. Don't fall into this victimization of you got to have diamond hands at all times. Take your profits, and you'll be okay.
And by the way, one of the reasons I started to become less bullish on Cardano in late 2020 and early 2021 was because of looking at projects like Polkadot.
Yeah,
like they are streets ahead of where Cardano is. Over 350 really solid projects are running already on this platform.
Yeah,
and we're still early. Yeah.
Polkadot's one of those few that I dollar cost average still right now. It's because I think it's going to be big. That one and Chainlink as well. All right. So what else we got? Tezos. Here's a very unsexy one. $2.65 on January 7th. I thought it was going to go to 20 just because it had gone pretty high in 2017. So I was like, or 2018 or whatever it was. So I thought, well, maybe it could rebound and do those things. I wasn't too sure, so I put it at 6. It reached $7.58, which is pretty good. Now it's at $2.77, which is roughly what it was back in January. So I got it at $10 only because of the name recognition, and it's in the top 100. Mike, am I off on this one? What do you think?
I think Tezos is still a solid project. Kind of like you said, though, a little unsexy, hasn't gotten a lot of recognition. One thing I really like, though, man, is that they started to implement tokenizing real estate, on Tezos. It was one of the first blockchains, and so that I really liked. And at one point, Tezos and Chainlink kind of moved together, and then Chainlink kind of broke out. And so on the price prediction, I'm kind of staking my Tezos on my ledger and just kind of letting it accumulate, but I really don't have a price prediction per se, but I'm bullish on it, but just kind of letting it build itself.
You know what? I didn't know about that. See, this is good you're on. So they're tokenizing real estate. I think that's the future anyhow. Everything's gonna be tokenized. Real estate's gonna be tokenized, land will be tokenized. I mean, heck, even my show, your show, and James' show will be tokenized. Who knows? All right, James, do you got anything with Tezos? Do you own anything, any of this? Or do you like, this is?
No, I keep away. I have this strange philosophy that if something has to be slung hard, marketed hard, sold hard, it's not worth looking at. I believe good products and good projects sell themselves.
Yeah.
So I saw things like Tezos advertising on Formula One cars and hiring the huge agency and stuff like that. I know the guys are huge as well. I thought that was a bit of a red flag, that they're too desperate. That they're not being adopted organically is where I'm coming from, which I believe is very important for these types of protocols.
I think there's 2 points of that. If you're dead and stagnant and nothing's really going on, and then you're like, well, we got to just piggyback onto something. That's one thing. But I think if you're moving along and then you start to like pick up sponsorships, like Bitcoin just got sponsored on some car on NASCAR. Voyager, same way. StormX just got picked up or they had a partnership with the Portland Trailblazers. So I can kind of see it like that. Tezos, maybe I'm just beating them down for no good reason. But I just don't see it. Someone just said we need to hear Rob talk more about real estate. James is the real estate mogul, as he may not let on. So maybe someday we'll do some kind of real estate stuff, me and James. I don't know.
Yeah, right. We'll show Meet Kevin and Stephen Graham how to do it.
Yeah, Meet Kevin. That guy's got a little empire. So, okay. So that's Tezos. VeChain. God, this one had so much potential. I don't know what's going on. It was 3 cents. I thought I was going to go to a quarter, and I was like 7. And I hit a quarter, which was kind of weird. Now it's at 8 cents. So I'm like, well, maybe 40 cents. I just see a lot of there's a lot of secrecy around what's going on with VeChain. I know it's being adopted in China for different parts. When I had Paul Barone on, he was talking about, because he's got some insider information as far as like with what's going on with China and some deals that are going on there. And he talks about how it's being adopted more so on that end that we don't hear about. But I'm like, I don't see much price action. So I have no idea. James, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I did a detailed should I buy token analysis on VeChain and got a lot of hate for it because my 10-year price prediction was really low. And my thesis is, I know the space that they're going after, supply chain management. Yeah. I worked for 11 years at one of the companies that's the leader in that space. I know it back and forth intimately. And I know the industry is extremely conservative and they're not going to put everything on the blockchain overnight. I also know that tons of competitors are coming into that space. So my thesis on VeChain, even though I own a little bit, is there's much more upside in other projects. And second of all, it's heavily controlled by the Chinese. Nothing good or bad wrong with that. And third of all, there's a few things I don't trust, like the fact that they were hacked in the past. Tokenomics is not that good. And finally, there's no real value to the project unless they expand way beyond supply chain management. So my 10-year price prediction is like 35 cents, 50 cents. And my 1-year one, if the bull market is strong, is, where did I write it down? Yeah, 30 cents.
Okay. I'll take it. Mike, what do you?
Nothing too high.
Nothing too high. Mike, what do you got? Do you own this one?
I do own some VeChain. Not a whole lot, but I bought a nice amount when it was super cheap.
Remember those days when it was like nothing? Yes.
So I mean, I'm just kind of staking it now, and I haven't purchased any more VeChain. I'm gonna agree with you on your predictions on this, Rob. I'm gonna go with you, man. I'm gonna say it could potentially reach 40 cents. I mean, I'm really still big on the Walmart partnership, other things as well. I just think the supply chain management, there's so many variables involved. It's gonna take a minute for it to really mature.
Yeah, I can see it. I just don't know. I just don't know about this one because but you know what's interesting though is Mike brought this up twice now, staking. So if you're talking about just an additional revenue stream, there's nothing better than staking and just getting in free money, right? So even if this isn't the gravy train that maybe it is, but maybe there's something to be said for just holding on to an asset, watch it appreciate over years and just stake it. And then just live, just have 10 of these different projects and just go, that's my thesis, what I'm going to do. I don't know. I thought it could work out pretty well. So those are that one. So we got between 30 and 40 cents. Okay, I can see it. EOS. Ugh. This is another one I should have gotten rid of, but I didn't. Sorry if you're into EOS. Okay. So it was $3.40. I thought maybe go to 30. It did go up to $13, which is pretty good. But then it went right down to 387. I'm going to put it at $15. I think that's generous. And the probability is a 3. So anybody can take this one. First of all, does anybody own EOS? James or Mike?
Nope.
I don't own any EOS.
So we're going to skip this one. Basically come out of this. If it hits 15, it'll be a miracle. And I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what we got. All right. Uniswap. This is where it gets interesting. It was 660. I thought it was going to go 20 at the end of the year. And I gave it a 5, and boy, was I wrong. $44. The price today is $17, roughly. I think it's going to go to 60 at the end. Who wants to take this one first? Mike, you got any Uniswap?
I don't own any Uniswap, but I think it's a big player in the DEX, though. It's going to be one of those still top 5. And I mean, there's a lot of competition out there, of course. Binance Smart Chain, Pancake Swap, Aave. I mean, there's so much competition, but I still think, like we say, Uniswap was one of the first players, and I think it's just going to have that. It has that people are comfortable with it. They trust it. It's about convenience. And what is blockchain about? Trust. You know what I mean? Trust and verify. And so I think that's still going to play a big part when it comes to Uniswap still being there. Is it going to be the number one? Not saying that, but I still think it's probably going to be top 5 or minimum top 10. You know what?
That's a good thing. It's trust. Trust is a commodity. Trust is a commodity you can't buy. And if you have trust, it's worth its weight in gold. And I think that's probably why we're still here, because how many different DEXs are out there? But how many times do you hear about those DEXs doing like a rug pull and things like that? People are like, I don't want to deal with that. So I know I'm going to pay a boatload if I have to use Uniswap because of these fees, but at least I know I'm not going to get ripped off. James, what do you think?
So it's funny. Either I drop dead on some of your choices, or some of them are my favorite in the whole university, the whole universe. So Uniswap, obviously, is one of the most disruptive projects in Ethereum, and it changes the way we think about kind of stock markets and markets in general. It's absolutely unbelievable. Like, truly decentralized, permissionless trading is just freaking mind blowing. When you go in there and play with it, and V3 is just, it's almost so brilliant, it's hard to believe, and it's so simple. It's like, why didn't somebody do this sooner? So blows me away. I am massively bullish on this one. My price predictions, let me see, Uniswap.
What did I have?
Yeah, at the end of the year, $48.86.
Okay.
And I have very detailed price predictions. I think, Rob, you were at 60. So I'm 22% beneath you. But that for me is a key name to own. So,
okay, but James, you've got a bear scenario and a bull scenario. Do you have this for everything, or just for
I do for
projects?
everything. So extreme detailed pricing models.
What's your bear scenario for Uni?
41.
And then the bull is 48?
No, for 48 is expected. The bull case is $60, which is very close to yours.
Exactly. So we'll take it. But you know what? It's a thing. I thought for sure when I did this price prediction, I'm like, Uniswap will have competition. It will fall down, and there'll be more to choose from, just like in business. And I was totally wrong about this one. So we'll see where it goes. I'm glad I was wrong, because, man, it went up massively. Okay.
There's one slight thing, though, that people should be aware of, and I go back to regulation and the competitive environment. They're the two dangers. The moat is extremely small. Anybody can replicate what they have, and regulators could try and shut it down. If they don't mess with it and they can stay ahead of the game and they continue to evolve and develop, I think easily $170 token by 2030. So
yeah,
that's one.
And you know what's, well, there's two things. First of all, remember the airdrop for Uniswap? That was awesome. And then I said to myself, that's how you build a community. Like, here's some free tokens. No questions asked, just take it. And I was like, that's perfect. So there's that part. And I was like, I will never sell. I said I'll never sell my Uniswap. Newsflash, at some point, if it gets like what James just said, I'll probably sell some. But I like how they build the community. But the second thing is, how can you shut that down? Is there a way to shut it down? Like, regulation, we know what China can do, right? We just saw it. They're like, nope, no more mining. And also no more Binance and no more OTC, and you guys are done. And they did it because they're a communist country. But I'm thinking about like North America, Europe, those types of places.
Well, apparently the FBI, from what I hear, and the NSA, they can track what people do with their wallets.
Sure.
So technically, things can be traced.
Yes.
But we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so that's that one. Let's go to my favorite, which I think we're going to diverge on this one, all three of us. So Voyager, 29 cents. And this is what I was talking about. In the beginning, if I make a prediction, and that prediction goes, it's really conservative and it goes above, people are like, that's okay, Rob, we still love you. But if I do it like where it doesn't hit, they're like, you're the devil. Okay, so Voyager, 29 cents. I thought it was going to $30. And the reason why, because first of all, the market cap was low, or the tokenomics, there was only 222 million. So I'm like, well, that's not too many. And then I take a look at the utility, and I thought, well, if they can just roll out this loyalty program, if they can do the token swap in time, and they can actually grow, then things can go pretty well. So it reached $7, I don't know, April, May, somewhere around there. Now it's back down to 226, but still a pretty good one. And I still say it's going to $30. And the reason why I still say that is if they do the things that they say they're going to do, and they've had massive growth. They went from 70,000 users to December to where they just reached their earnings report last month, and they said they're at 1.6 million. I talked to Steve. It sounds like they're even above that. I want to guess around 2 million. They brought in the team from Uber because they believe they're going to have 10 million by the end of the year. And if they can just do the things they say they can do, that means utility for the token, which means staking 7%. You can reduce your fees. You can increase your APY for the different cryptos that you can store on there, which is now over 50. They're going to have a debit card, potentially a credit card, a desktop version, and they're going to hopefully go into Canada and the EU. And I think that's massive. And of course, they are a brokerage, not an exchange. So that's my case. What do you guys think?
You want me to take this one first, James?
Or Mike? Yeah. No, take it, Mike. Take it.
Dude, honestly, man, I agree with you. I think we were pretty spot on, though, when it came to VGX. Still super bullish on it, and everything you agreed on. It. Right. They just announced the token swap is August 9th. It's going to be about 30 days. So from now, if we look at the time frame, it's July 1st. The token swap is the 9th of August, and they said the VLP will happen right after that. So if it takes about 30 days, give or take, they said it's going to start September, beginning of September. Yeah. He's joining the stream. They said, so that puts us about 60, 75 days from today's date, give or take, for us to potentially see the VLP go live. And so I still think it can hit $30 by the end of the year, honestly. And secondly, with the VLP and token swap, I think two things can happen. I think we're going to start seeing a little price improvement because of the announcement that just came out. Yeah. But also, I think what can happen is we may not see true price to the upside until the VLP program actually sets in, where people actually see what's going on, right? Because the app is going to change. There's going to be different things that's going to be implemented that really starts to draw the crowd. And so I think that's really what we're really going to, I think we're going to see more price movement from the VLP compared to the token swap, just my opinion.
Yeah. So me and Mike are pretty bullish on this one. James, what do you got for Voyager?
I don't touch it.
No. See, this is great. So James, talk to us about and of course, I remember because I mean, first of all, before I go on, we've all gotten hate on our channels, right? I remember when I sold all of my XRP, and I got so much hate from the XRP army. But I'm like, look, I sold it all because I needed a tax benefit, and then there's this thing called wash trading, which does not exist in this realm. So I just bought some back, and they're like, no, diamond hands, you're worthless. And we get all this hate, right? So we can always dissent. It's okay. And that's what makes this whole situation great. So James, for Voyager, you don't want to touch it. You're like, nope, no way.
Well, I have a very strict discipline of not holding more than 10 or 12 tokens, but understanding them well. And if I want to add another one, I need to kill one. So some people have to be. So I want you to look at the graph or something else. That means I'd have to sling my H bar or my V chain to do that. So somebody needs to get sacrificed. So I just keep waiting for the best projects to bubble up. And because you cannot be versed in 100 different projects. And I know people that have 60 tokens, 80 tokens, 100 tokens. It's like my head would explode. And I work really hard at analyzing them. So to be deep and really know what's going on, you've got to be able to track them daily. And I also do a lot of equity trading. In fact, way more equity trading than crypto trading, because that's where I can get the bigger returns using derivatives. So that's where I play.
James, bringing it in. See, I've only got so much time in the day, man, and that's it. So what you just said made a lot of sense. I really should be dumping some of these. The ones where I was like groaning, I just have them because I just haven't gotten not the time, just to go, I just got to cut these things loose.
You got married. Yeah. The hardest part in investing is selling, just cutting those ties, and people just hold on to stuff forever. And there's better place to place your money. That's what I think, is just run out the numbers, look at the expected value of where you think somebody's going to be at the end of the year or the end of 5 years or whatever your time frame is, and then pick the best.
Yeah.
You know?
This is why I have this exit strategy. I've sold some of my positions. I mean, Fade I sold because I thought there was going to go a certain way, and I sold not everything, but I sold a good amount. So that's that. All right, let's finish this up, and then we'll get to the next piece, like the Solanas and the BTTs. So Aave and Bitcoin Cash. Okay. Well, James loves Aave. All right. So
I do. Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, Aave, I like Yanni and what he's doing. Smart guy. Really was like one of the first in DeFi. So it was 122 on January 7th. I thought it was going to 2K because there's only 16 million. Look at the tokenomics of that. 16 million. That's it. It went to 652. Pretty good return. Now it's under 221. So I'm like, all right, $1,500. James, take it away. Tell me where I'm wrong here.
Yeah, so I'm a big Aave fan. My year-end price prediction is 465. I love it because just like Uniswap, I believe this is definitely the most disruptive project around crypto lending.
Yeah.
And I just, again, go in there, use it, try it out. It is just completely mind-blowing. I love the tokenomics. And just everything about it is, if I was to build a protocol, it would look very like Aave. So the only concern I have is a big black swan event that would completely wipe crypto out, could wipe them out too.
So, okay.
And I see it going into the top 10 at some stage over the next 12 months, literally going from number 30 all the way into the top 10. That's how bullish I am on Aave.
Okay, I'll take a look. So what's your end of year prediction?
On Aave is 465.
Okay, I can see that. I think, what are we at, 230 today?
233.
We can double up. Okay. Mike, you got any of this Aave?
I do not. I don't own any Aave, and not don't know much about it. So learned a lot from what James just said. But I mean, I knew it was a DEX, but as far as some of the things that's offered, I don't know too much of any projects or anything.
Yeah, me and you both. Any kind of yield farming over there for this one, James?
Yeah, you can do pretty much anything with it. So it's really impressive from so many different perspectives. I just think that whole world of crypto lending, yield farming, etc., is just where everything is actually going. And this is why I believe regulation is trying to clamp down on all of this, because it is a massive threat to the traditional financial services that are out there.
Well, I mean, it is a huge threat. And that's why I think this article came up, where we talk about NYDIG pairing up with small and mid-sized banks because they see the writing on the wall. And there was this one statement really just sums it up. According to Gene Kondo, Vice President of Communications, the decision to partner with NYDIG was based on client demand. And they were talking about, this wasn't it. There's another one where it says that the reason why they went into it because they were tired of seeing the funds from the banks flowing into the exchanges to buy cryptocurrency. So, of course, that's what they want to do. All right, I'll take a look at Aave. I'm a little bit more bullish only because of what James just said. We'll go from there. All right.
Swap out your Tezos for Aave.
How dare you? How dare you be 100% correct? All right, so here we are. So let's see. And then we'll finish up with Bitcoin Cash. Man, Bitcoin Cash, I thought it was going to do better. 481 on January 7th. And then I thought I'd go to 8K because I believe that people are going to want something easy and low fees. And Bitcoin Cash does that. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. So far, it hit 1,500 and then it went down to 500. So just a little bit above. So I punted and just say 5K. I don't really see it really going too far. Does anybody here own Bitcoin Cash besides me?
I don't own any Bitcoin Cash, but I'm honestly thought about purchasing it.
See, we're gonna pass this one up. Let's go to the big one of the big ones. Let's talk about XRP. This is a fan favorite. I don't blame you. I get it. The community's strong. I have no idea. I thought I couldn't even give you a prediction. before because of the SEC had, the thing just came out. So I just said, I don't know. But now with the different things that are coming about, it looks like, I mean, potentially, I don't know what I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, but it looks like they could potentially just, I think they will settle with the SEC. They'll pay a fine. Didn't EOS pay a fine as well, which was like nothing compared to what they actually made, and they just move on. I think that's going to happen, and I think if it does happen, it'll shoot up to $5 to $8. But it has to happen with the SEC settling. There's no way it can go up to $5 to $8 without this SEC case being dismissed. Anybody own XRP here?
I own XRP.
Okay, what do you got, Mike?
I don't have a price prediction on it, but I bought XRP back under 20 cents.
Yeah, that's where I sold when I got my tax breaks at 21 cents, and I bought right back because it was the lowest I could. I thought it can't go lower than this, but who knows? And then there we go. So what do you think?
I don't agree nor disagree with your price prediction. I mean, honestly, I really don't have. I mean, I think it's in flux right now. With the SEC, I think until that gets settled, it's kind of at a ceiling. And so.
Let me ask you this: if there was no SEC case right now and it never came up, where do you think it could be this year? And remember, I think wasn't the all-time high like $3, $3.25? I want to say.
Well, for me, what is use case? Connecting the banks and financial institutions, and we know Stellar is after the unbanked.
Yeah.
I think XRP honestly can be well over $10, man. I mean, on paper, on what it can do. I mean, if we think about it and the connections, I mean, well over $10. But I mean, with so much happening, so many variables, it's yet to be seen. So I mean,
know what? You're right. I just think like this was the time, this was the year to kind of move forward. I know they're still doing these things, but they're kind of saddled with this SEC case. And as more competition comes up, it kind of puts them in a real bad bind to move forward. That's, I think, the big problem. James, what do you got?
If I ever say anything, I've got a list of things I could talk about at XRP, but I will not say them on this channel.
Oh, no. You got to say it because the XRP army is like super nice and accommodating. They'll love you for saying negative stuff.
I'm not messing with those folks.
Okay.
Just look at tokenomics, everybody. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. 51 billion in escrow.
There we are. So we're going to move past that one because James is going to punt, rightfully so. Let's go to some new ones. So this was my secondary. And just like James had said, I've only got 10 to 12. Mike, how many cryptos you own? I mean, roughly.
Maybe about 15 to 18 max.
See, that's what I should have done. I didn't do it. And I got a lot of these things that I bought was during the dips when I called it rage buying. It was when the car salesman was making all those tweets and I was like so ticked off and it just kept going down and like they were just great deals. And I'm actually doing not too bad right now, but I probably shouldn't have bought all these things, but this is what I got now. I've got BAT, StormX, which was actually a pretty great buy. T-Fuel, actually I bought that beforehand and I'd actually gotten that from being on Theta. Avalanche, where I think it's going to be big. Silo, which we just talked about. The Cent token, which we're going to talk about that on Alex's show tomorrow. And this is the ones I want to talk about today. Solana, Polygon, Swissborg, IOTA, and BTT. And then these other ones I'll talk about later. And of course, World Mobile Token. I'm an advisor to that one. So just so everybody knows. And I think it's going to be big as far as like interoperability and giving telecommunications to Africa. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for, let's start with Solana. And again, if it wasn't for these two guys talking about it here and there, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But this is what I have. So the supply and max supply, 272 to 478 million, not billion. The all-time high was $52. The price today, is it 30? Maybe around 30. So I can see it going to $200 because it seems like it's what Ethereum and Cardano want to do, and they're doing it. That's all I got. So let's start with James. Take this one away because I know you're real big in this one.
Yeah, very big on it for a number of reasons. I like when you see really, really smart people throwing nearly $500 million at the project, and you see tokenization of equities kind of doing what Binance kind of did, but really executing very well. There's so many good things going for it. The only concern I do have is a little bit around the tokenomics. And they also need a couple more developers, and they need some more dApps.
Yeah.
But this thing runs like a scolded cat, and it's very, very impressive. So, yeah, I am very bullish on Solana. My price prediction per the list per year end is about $209. That's another big upside compared to yours.
Wow.
4.3% above you.
Yeah,
so I'm more bullish.
Yeah, we're
the only two names. The only two names that I'm more bullish on than your price predictions.
Yeah, we'll take it. Mike, what do you got? Do you have some Solana? I think you do, right?
I do. I'm actually now staking it on Moonlet Wallet, about 12%. So,
hey, do you got a video on that? How to do that?
I don't, but I could potentially work something out.
Could you do that for me? That'd be great. I don't know. I need your help. Great.
Yeah. So, but Solana for my price prediction is about $150 to $200. And just the reason being is because something what James said, they do need more DFs. They do need, because Solana's still a newer blockchain that just kind of launched their mainnet not too long ago. And so we're still starting to see a lot of things, but with so many partnerships already, with it being so new, I think that really solidifies it. Even with the Grayscale offering now a fund for them, just getting listed on Coinbase, the Visa, the Circle partnership, the crypto integration payments, being able to process up to 50,000 transactions per second, you know, being crazy. A hybrid, I mean, there's so many things we can say about Solana. So, I mean, on paper, dude, it's going to be a top 10 no matter what. I mean, I just think it needs a little time to get some things taken care of. But I think 150 to 200 this year. So
we're looking at a 6 to 7x. That's the one that I need to start dollar cost averaging and more. That's really what it comes down to. Okay. Awesome. And then there's a question that comes up, Brion. Do you think there's going to be another 2021 like 2017 in crypto? Like do you guys see this bull run, which we're debatable if we're still in a bull run, depending on who you talk to and what the kind of time frame they're looking at. But do you think that we could have that parabolic hockey stick come towards the end of the year, or maybe 2022? And how long do you think it could last before we hit a crypto winner, if there even is a crypto winner? Mike, I'll start with you.
And I kind of got to piggyback a little bit what James said, because it's so right. Because Rob, I know you go back and look at the history and how things have happened. And James said how this time things are so different. I mean, which it is. We have all the retail investors, we have the institutions. And so when we look at the history of things, we've seen a parabolic run, but it hasn't been like 2017. And so one thing that we have seen this year is that certain sectors have went up while other sectors may have went down. Yeah. And so that's been definitely different compared to what's been seen in the past. And so it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I'm about 70% to 30% that we're going to see another big run. And I think that's going to be with us seeing Bitcoin reaching 6 figures or potentially more. But I think it will be at that time when that happens.
Yeah. And then before we get to James, shout out to my assistant. Her name is Haley. Haley's the one that's bringing up all these great questions. So James, what do you got? What do you think?
Yeah. You know, again, as I said at the beginning, it's a function of money flow. Right. The money's just beginning to flow. And we've lost 2 months of our bull run because of flatness, which is kind of normal, very similar to 2013. I do believe that, you know, once things do go parabolic, there'll be that blow off top and things will fall down, but the retracement will only be 45, 50%, 40%. There won't be any more 85% retracements, at least in things like Bitcoin, because of the institutional holding now. And the big hedge funds and the wealth offices, family offices, all that type of stuff. You got pension money coming in from all over Europe now as well. It's a different game, different ball game entirely.
You know, it's crazy because like I had heard this 3-4 months ago, and people said that the institutions are going to stabilize everything. And I was like, no, they're not, because they're going to come in here and they're going to put their money in and they're going to sell at some point, just because that's what a lot of these large, not like the old time players do, but like some of these like hedge funds and the ones that are just getting in. I go, you have to wait until like major big money comes in. And just like you said, like pensions come in, That's when everything kind of stabilizes. And people are like, Rob, you're a moron. You're an idiot. Sure, I know. But I just didn't see it happening. And then when people say, you know, Tesla's coming in, they're never going to sell. Well, they just sold 10% not too long ago because they want to test the liquidity of the market. So again, only trust yourself and do what's best for you and your family. The diamond hands narrative, I just hate it. And I think that you do what's best for you and your family. And when you got to sell, you sell. So what else do we have to wrap this up?
Polygon.
Mark Cuban's favorite. So 6.3 billion, 10 billion max supply. So that's just the supply. I didn't make price predictions on these because I didn't own them before. The all-time high was 240, and it's only at $2 right now, which is pretty great considering the other ones that we've taken a look at. So I put a end of year to between $4 and $8. I think that because it's a second layer solution, correct, for Ethereum. So even if Ethereum takes off and they lower the fees, I think you'll still need a second layer solution if there's this much adoption moving forward. Am I wrong? And who owns Polygon here?
Both I don't own any Polygon.
All right. So for Mike, we're gonna have him punt the football. James, what do you got?
Yeah, this is another one of my big positions. Obviously, I like their fixed supply, clear leader, widely adopted, tons of use cases. Another scolded cat scenario, as they say, in this interchain world. And you know, as DeFi gets bigger, even if EIP 1559 and Ethereum 2.0 solve all of the scaling issues, there's still a place for Polygon and Matic. Yeah. I mean, these guys are top-notch developers and engineers. And my price prediction is $2.98 for year-end and $20, which would be half of Tesla's current market cap today in the year 2030. I'm extremely bullish on this project.
Holy smokes. Tell me that one more time so everybody can hear that again. What was the end of year?
The end of year is 298. Year-end 2021 and $20 in 2030, which would equate to half of Tesla's market cap today. That's how bullish I am on this project.
Okay, what's your bearish one?
The bearish, I think, is about 260, 255.
Okay, so $3. Not too bad. I give it a range because I just don't know. But I mean, hold on. Wasn't Polygon like pennies not too long ago?
And now a lot of things were pennies not too long ago.
I'm getting
all the new stuff, all the new 3.0 version of kind of blockchains was all pennies.
Yeah,
6-12 months ago.
Yeah,
so, but you just look at that's why I look very carefully at the adoption and the network and the use cases. And when you can see huge adoption and really valuable use cases that will disrupt the world, then you know it's real.
Yeah, I agree. So let's go talking about use cases and real world adoption. This is another one. This is what I call the European Voyager. And this one is Swissborg. And Swissborg, I've had Alex Fazel on the show, and he's head of marketing over there. His brother is the CEO, and it's like Voyager. It's, they have a pretty great community as well. And they are, like I said, a brokerage, so they connect to all different types of exchanges. And I like the utility there because I remember how Coinbase would go down all the time. That's why I like brokerages, so they can actually connect to all these different exchanges. So when everything hits, you can either sell, you can either buy, you can get out. So I like Swissborg European-wise. And it's only got a 1 billion, which I say like it's no big deal. It's like 1 billion tokenomics or tokens max supply. It hit $1.50. Now it's down to 58 cents. I see it could potentially go to $4. And especially with the advancement of cryptocurrency in Europe, what James just talked about as far as like Germany being able to get into crypto. So the more people get into crypto, the more they talk about crypto, the more people are like, where can I get crypto? Use this app. And I've used the app. It's super simple. Does anybody own Swissborg here?
Aren't they like a Nexo/Celsius type player? Are they deeper than that? You said they're like a Voyager, which means they do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, like a brokerage. I think they might do lending, but I can't do that because I'm not in Europe. I just know that you can get certain type of cryptos on Swissborg. So I'll take it. But no, okay, we'll punt. I'm correct. Just kidding.
And
So
I've got nothing else on your list. So we hit all my top 10.
well, great, because now me and Mike get to talk about IOTA and BTT.
I can talk about BTT, but you may not like it.
That's okay. You know, great. Then we'll save it for last. So IOTA 2.7 billion, and they use this. So it's not. It is a blockchain, but it's a DAG, right?
Yes, without the
acrylic graph or something like that, and it's a new way to function as far as blockchain goes. So it was a great project. It's still a great project. I've had one of the CEOs or the co-founders on. 2.7 billion tokenomics, 2.53 for the all-time high in 2021. Now it's on a 79 cents. So I said $5, and that was kind of like a throwaway. Mike, I'm gonna diverge into you so you can explain why this could potentially be big.
Well, I think IOTA is a little bit ahead of its time because it does have the quantum computer resistance, which is going to be coming in the next 8 to 10 years. That's a big deal. But sometimes when projects are too ahead of their time, they don't succeed, right? And we've seen that happen in the past. And so for me, with it being a DAG, with it being able to be more scalable with some of the issues that regular blockchains have, and with it having the quantum computer resistance, I definitely think it gives it the ability for staying power. But we have to see it continue to, implement, get developers, have projects start to be built on. And we've seen, wallets come out for it like Firefly and things like that. But we still have to see a lot more things happen for IOTA. I do think potentially, though, with the big run, IOTA can hit on a bullish side $10 by the end of the year.
Dang. Okay. We'll see how that works out. Hopefully. I have some IOTA. That was one of my, I think it was down like 60-70%. So I'm like, I know the guys. I like the team. They are ahead of their time. So I just bought it because I was like, it's a great deal. Now let's see if it actually move on. And lastly, and we'll finish this up. And thanks, guys. We've been here for like an hour and 15 minutes. Can you believe that?
You're just warming up. I've got my list of super micro caps we're going to talk about next.
Oh, that's right. We are going to talk about micro caps. So BTT, it's hellaciously big. Let's just call a spade, like I always like to say. And we're looking at, let me put this back. 659 billion is the circulating supply. Max supply is 1 trillion. That's with the T. So the all-time high, it did hit a penny. So 0.012. Now it's down to a fraction of that, 0.0026. I can see it doing things 0.02 as far as 2 cents on the upside. And it all depends on, are people going to use BTT? And correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. It's all about file storage, kind of like Filecoin. You can actually store some things as far as in a decentralized manner. Or is it also for other data sources? Mike, I'm going to have you take this one away because you know way more than I do.
Yeah. So file sharing, data storage, being able to stake it. Of course, it has the torrent as well. And so being able to pretty much store people's, and one thing I did talk about, there's Filecoin and there's BTT. They both control most of the market share when it comes to the decentralized storage in the crypto market cap.
Okay.
Filecoin is number 1, and then BitTorrent is number 2. So when you look at first players and first people who have the most market share, I see Filecoin as being the project where people store most of the most important things, whereas BTT will be stored as everyday things, like maybe NFTs that's not as valuable as some others or things like that. That's where I see BTT coming in, more of an everyday use case that's super fast, that can be transferred anywhere in real time. Because when you look at Tron, their whole idea is to decentralize the internet, where a lot of people hate Justin Sun, right? And so
they do hate him. You're right.
They hate him with a passion. So it's either love or hate with this token. So I'm very curious to see what James has to say, man. No pun intended. If you don't want to say anything, I get it. Not asking for a price prediction, but just curious because you're very intelligent. So I'm very curious to see what you have to say, on it, man.
You guys are the smart ones. What gets me is what I love about crypto is decentralization. And then you got this Justin Sun guy talking about building a decentralized platform when in fact he bought one, centralized it, But it just doesn't sit well in my brain. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Hey, so, Binance did the same thing. Binance Smart Chain. Come on.
And I just think that, you know, the original community, the diehards, they've all bolted and they've forked into other kind of torrent coins. I think this place is going to be so flooded with players. And we all lived through the original, what was it? The original BitTorrent when people were file sharing movies and music back in the day.
I remember that. I remember those days. And then Justin, he bought it, said we're going to use BTT, and then that's it. Decentralization.
Yeah, I think the safer play for people would be to invest in Tron if they really wanted a piece of this to get exposure, rather than picking up BitTorrent itself. That would be my take. Not investment advice, as you say. It's investment
opinion.
That's so funny. So yeah, that's it. And I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but Tron would be the safer play.
That's okay. Okay, so now we already covered that. So everybody, thanks for stopping by on that part. If you want to go into overtime, we're going to talk about some small caps. So if anybody's got some small caps that they want to talk about, go ahead. This is the time. I've got two I want to talk about, and I'll open it up first to Mike or James if you guys got something like that.
Yeah, I've got a hard stop in a couple of minutes, so I've got to.
So you are first. Let's hit it.
Oh, I was only joking. I don't do micro caps, small caps. So there are two we're going to analyze next. One is Avalanche, and the second one is the Graph. I get hundreds of requests every day to do a token analysis, and I'm extremely selective. But so far, the Graph is looking pretty good, and Avalanche is interesting. But for me to invest means I got to flick something. So that's my discipline.
What's it going to be?
HBAR or VeChain, they are the two at the bottom of my totem pole right now.
I'd like Avalanche. I'm gonna have somebody on the show from Avalanche pretty soon.
Cool.
I like it. Smart chain. Smart contract functionality, and the team is outstanding. Again, invest in people. Mike, you got any small cappers that you're looking into? Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
I think the smallest crypto I think I own is probably StormX.
Yeah, and that one just made a big jump because of that Portland Trailblazer. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does for the tokenomics, but I mean, it is a nice. It does nothing actually, but it is a nice story, and that just means vision for people can actually see it. The only thing I'd like to talk about lastly is two of my big ones I want to see happen. World Mobile Token, again, I'm an advisor, but this is great because they're going into parts of Africa. And this is the first one. Tanzania went into a village. They pop up these solar panels and these pods to give telecommunications and internet service. And that's just the first part. And then, of course, the second part is the World Mobile Token, and that's what they're going to use on the Cardano blockchain to give them functionality like digital ID, finance, for accessibility to healthcare, and a couple other things. So I like this one. It looks pretty good. And then the Silo token we just talked about. And then there's one called Meld, which I just covered over at Dan Clips. And this one just looks interesting because if you're talking about, again, built on the Cardano blockchain, paying for your own loans. And that's what it's supposed to do. And I'm going to do it just service, but I'm going to link the video at the very bottom, and then you guys can check it out about that one. Those are the two ones that really aren't even out. But I will say there is one thing about this one that's cool, is that we're all in the United States, so we can't get into a lot of these private sales. What Meld is doing is they're doing an ISPO, an initial stake pool offering. So you can put your ADA into their pool, and they'll give you Meld. That's the only big thing. And that's it. So before we take off, I want to say this. Thanks, guys, for sticking with me all the way to the end. There's a lot of information, and we went long. Before we leave, though, James, Mike, do you guys have any advice for the crypto investor before we leave?
Be very, very careful, everybody. What I like to look at is sometimes when people jump in and say, "Oh, this only has 100 billion tokens, and it's only 10 cents or a cent or a penny. I can buy a truckload." Just look at the market cap, and then look at existing companies that you know, like a car company or an airline or a hotel group or a bank, and equate them together.
Yeah.
And then think, So some of these things are completely overvalued. So it's very, very important to focus on the actual use case and how they will actually generate money over time, because 95% of them, maybe 99% will go to zero. And then just look at the charts from 2017. Mike, you mentioned StormX. I had a look at the chart. I'm like, oh, I hope you haven't had it since 2017, buddy.
No, I just got it in this year, man.
Yeah. So again, I think you say this, Rob, if in doubt, zoom out and look at the big picture and equate them to other programs, both in the, legacy world as well as the modern world. But everything will be decentralized and tokenized. So focus as well on things that are truly decentralized, that have really good tokenomics and really good use cases. And then you will all be fine. But take the time to do your homework, or else you're going to lose your shirt. Don't speculate. Invest.
Or at the very least, watch a bunch of different people do their homework for you, and then do a little bit of homework on the side, so you don't have to be overwhelmed. That is cheating, but that's the beauty of the internet, James. That's the truth. And then Mike, what do you got as far as like any kind of like great advice or good advice for the crypto investors, things that you've learned?
Man, definitely do your own research, educate yourself. Kind of like we said on these price predictions, it's just investing opinion. 3 guys having fun, right, on YouTube talking about crypto. So, I mean, don't take this truly as financial advice. And granted, there's people that's going to do it. And so all I'm saying is just be patient, educate yourself. Because at the end of the day, let's just be real for a second. You never know what type of day that YouTuber is having. I mean, we could be having a bad day. We could be crazy. You never know. You know what I mean? So let's just be real for a second. Do your own research, even if it sounds good. Back up what we're saying. If it checks out, awesome. You know what I mean? But with anyone, man, just back up what we're saying, educate yourself, and be patient. Because I mean, if you truly understand crypto and blockchain is the future, you're not panicking when these dips happen. I mean, you understand this is an opportunity. I mean, granted, easier said than done. I get that. But if you understand what you own truly, I mean, you're not going to be just panicking. Trust me.
That's a solid advice from both you guys. And that's the big thing. I remember when I got in 2017 and I was like, all of a sudden it would just drop to the floor. I'm like, what happened? Now I'm down. And of course I should have just dollar cost average and really done my research. I never did. And I was down like 50, 60, 70%. All right, everybody. So I know James here's got to go. He's getting antsy. Mike is he's probably sore from all the rolling he did today from the That's it for today, guys. Thanks so much. And I'll link everything in the description below.
A big thank you as well, Rob, and pleasure meeting you, Mike, as well, face to face.
Likewise.
And, let's all get together soon.
We'll do it on your channel or Mike's channel next time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, gents. Take care.